We have Anna Akbari here today, sociologist, writer, speaker, and advisor to industry leaders. She's the author of Start Up Your Life, Hustle and Hack Your Way to Happiness, and a contributing author to the Enneagram at Work, Unlocking the Power of Type to Lead and Succeed. Anna, thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Well, this is such a fascinating topic, and I know that you are such an expert. I would love to ask you some questions about how people can understand their Enneagram type and use this information to better their lives and better understand themselves.
Yeah, great. Let's dive in.
Let's dive in. So what is the Enneagram, first of all?
It's a sort of personality test, but I like to refer to it more as a tool for self-awareness. I think personality test implies a sort of like, I don't know, you take it in the back of Cosmo and I'm a this or I'm a that, right? And there's real depth to this. And I think the testament to that is the fact that there are a lot of large, very serious organizations that are using this as a tool for enhancing self-awareness amongst their employees. And there, of course, there's things like Myers-Briggs or Strength Finders, and those are fine tools as well. One of the things that I really like about the Enneagram is that it's less about, here's my type, you should know that I'm this, take it or leave it. The Enneagram is much more about creating a path to growth. And so for me, I personally would rather have that. I'd rather empower people with that tool. And it's not just, so there's 9 types, but there's actually 3 subtypes within each one. So there's 27 types. And then within that, there are many, many nuances. So again, you might say, if you're thinking about it from like an astrology perspective or whatever, you're like, oh, I can't be categorized into this like 1 of 9 or 1 of 12 or whatever categories. But like I was saying, this one is quite nuanced. And I know for me, once I took the test that I find to be the most accurate, which is the Integrative Enneagram test, once I took that and read my results, it was so shocking. I looked at my report and I immediately thought, please don't let anyone else see this, because 100%.
I thought the same thing. Okay. I'm glad I'm not alone, because it is so specific. And it's like, was someone reading my diary? Like,
yes,
it tells
I like
you
to compare
the full picture.
To like looking in a mirror under fluorescent lights, and you're like, oh,
yes,
no.
yes, exactly, exactly. And one of the things that I love about this particular approach is that first and foremost, it's about self-acceptance. So we're not judging ourselves. It's not meant to, beat you down, but it is this awareness of like, it's okay to look at yourself under the fluorescent lights so that you can really use the fullness of your abilities in life and make the most of your talents and gifts and grow in the areas where you might need to. So I really like it.
I think one of the important things to remember is there are no bad types. Yes. There are higher and lower expressions of type. Mm-hmm. And some of us operate a bit higher or a bit lower, but it's all accessible to all of us. And the other piece is that all 9 types, or all 27, if we want to put it that way, are also accessible to all of us. And one of the things that Jim and I emphasize in the book is that, it's becoming this more fully integrated, self-aware, evolved person is not just about becoming, so I'm an 8. It's not just about becoming the perfect 8, but it's about borrowing from each of the 9 types and looking at the gifts and the talents that each of them have to teach us and to offer us, and implementing that into the way that I operate. And the Enneagram is really about identifying what is sort of your core desires, your core personality types, your core fears, but really how that manifests over time is in patterns, behavior patterns. So each type has very specific core patterns, so that, everyone in your life isn't going to take this, but once you become really conversant in it, you'll find yourself going, oh yeah, that's a 1. That is a perfectionist right there. And that isn't a bad thing per se, but knowing that can help you to have a better understanding of how to connect to or relate to that person.
100%. And I love how the book talks about depersonalization. It's like, it helps us to not take things so personally when we realize, hey, that's not the core of that person, or this isn't my core. This is a behavior, and we can learn to adapt and grow and communicate through these behaviors with awareness. And I love that. It really does provide a framework for being able to relate to just a myriad of different types of people. And I think that's important in life, right?
Yeah, I think it's great for observing the behavior of others, as you said, in a sort of depersonalized, objective way. And then the gift is to do the same with ourselves.
Yes.
So that we can say, okay, I'm doing that thing again. Mm-hmm. And you're observing your own behavior. And instead of just sort of being frustrated with the outcome, you can say, okay, I'm observing these patterns. This is what pushes me into these patterns. Right. And here's how I can catch myself and then sort of course correct. And here's maybe the healthier way. And it doesn't just say, don't do that. It says, here's actually a stronger, healthier path for you as well.
Yes. I feel like that's where so many, great self-help books and methodologies become hard to implement, because they don't always take into account the fact that we're always a work in progress. There are always going to be triggers, things that come up. And I love that this really gives us that awareness of, the spectrum of our behaviors, what triggers them, how we can, maybe become more aware, and different exercises that we can do even. Yes. So it's really amazing. It's really, really wonderful.
It doesn't just operate in platitudes. Like, that is a critique I have of a lot of self-help. It just makes us feel good about ourselves, or there's just a lot of great lines that are philosophically beautiful, but it's like, well, what do I do with that in action when I'm being triggered by something or not being my best self? How do I actually stop repeating the same mistakes, or this, getting myself into the same challenges, or not being able to work with the same kind of person? And so I love that the Enneagram, and I think this book, gives people, it sort of arms them with not just the platitudes, but the what does it look like in action?
Well, I'm very curious to know, you have my chart. I took the IEQ. Is it IEQ 9? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's also called the Integrative. So if anyone is interested in looking it up, and I'd just like to say I have no affiliation with them in terms of I get no money if you use them. So it's up to you. There are many tests out there that are free or very low cost. The Enneagram Institute website is also a really excellent free resource. And I believe their tests are only around $10 or $20 each. But the great thing with the Integrative is you get everything with it. You get a really hefty report that not only tells you an in-depth reading of your specific type, but also your subtype. And it also gives you an indication about your centers of expression, which we can talk about a little bit, as well as your integration level, which I was mentioning before. And the integration level has nothing to do with how smart you are or anything like that, or even necessarily how self-aware you are. It's really just an indication of whether you're stuck in your patterns, and it goes from high to low. And I can tell you that I've only seen one high one. And really? Wow. It's not always the people you would think. Lots of really smart people operate at the low place. Mm-hmm. A lot. Most people I've seen are moderate, are right in the middle. And that is where you're at.
Anna, where can people keep up with you on social media? Where can they follow you? Your website? Give us all the things.
My name is where you find me at my website and on Instagram and Twitter. So it's just ANNA AKBARI, AnnaAkbari.com, at Anna Akbari on social media.
Awesome. And do you currently offer coaching or any ways that people can work with you if they're interested in reaching out? Or
occasionally I do. Okay. Yes. I do require I don't do just kind of one-off consultations in general. Sure. So if someone is interested in doing more of a little bit longer term commitment for coaching, absolutely. I'm open to that.
Okay. Interesting. Well, people can go to your website and check that out. Anna, thank you again for being here. Oh, go ahead.
Of course, they should read the book too.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the book is, you guys, this is a must read. I'm going to say you've got to read the book and you've got to take the in-depth test, because it'll just give you a new sense of self-awareness. Thank you, Anna. I really appreciate you being here.
You're welcome. Thanks.
For the full interview, just check out the Be Zen with Brit podcast.